Welcome to the Clemson Dubcast. It is Thursday, July 24th at TigerIllustrated.com. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty of our top 25 ranking of the players on Clemson's roster. We've been doing it for 10 years, and I know I probably say this every year, but this feels like the hardest year yet to come up with some sort of hierarchy. The most difficult part was the bottom 10, 15 to 25. A lot of really talented guys in the others receiving votes category, which suggests this is going to be a really good team. You can check that out at TigerIllustrated.com, which is now proudly part of the On3 network. So this podcast has been going since August of 2018. More than 770,000 downloads of more than 340 episodes. And my great friends Blake Smith and Brooke Archenhold at Parham Smith Archenhold Law Firm have been a part of it for every single one. They are longtime Clemson people, and they give you the experience and the results you need. Their team can help with personal injury and medical malpractice cases. They currently serve North Carolina and South Carolina with offices in Greenville, Spartanburg, and Charleston. If you or your family has been injured, I want you to help you get the compensation you deserve. Schedule a free consultation by calling 864-301-8767 or by going to parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAMlaw.com. As president of Harris Home in Anderson, South Carolina, Scott Junkins knows all about foundations and how to cover them beautifully. His client list includes Clemson University, BMW, and Greenville's Floor Field, along with thousands of homes and businesses throughout the area. Harris Home was previously Harris Flooring, but the next logical step was to expand beyond flooring and manage complete interior renovations. Scott has assembled an expert team that completely manages every step of any redesign project, from ideas to finishing touches with both residential and commercial projects. Open the door to more by going to discoverharris.com or by calling 864-225-8631. Solero Commerce, formerly known as Tandem Payment, is a full-service integrated electronic payments provider powered by leading-edge technology. Solero provides a wide array of merchant solutions, simplified payments. They make onboarding, taking payments, maintaining risk management and compliance, and getting support quick and easy. At Solero, they're all about helping you achieve sustainable growth as a business. Taking payments isn't the only thing your business needs. With Solero's solutions, you can manage inventory, sell products and services via social media, schedule staff, track sales, get reports, and much, much more. Find out more about Solero at solerocommerce.com. That's CELERO commerce.com. Okay, fun visit here with former Tiger Tremayne Anchrum, who was on the team from 2016 to 2019. I think those were 4 pretty good years. Great stuff here. Enjoy. Okay, here we go. Joined by former Tiger and current Kansas City Chief, Tremayne Anchrum. Really appreciate you giving us your time, sir.
Actually, Larry, I'm a free agent now.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I'm a free agent now.
I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good.
I guess the internet hasn't kept up.
Yeah, no, it just happened literally like 10 days ago. So.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good, man. It's fresh.
Well, we'll talk about that. But first of all, kind of a chance encounter on Tuesday night in downtown Clemson at their summer downtown on the Ave extravaganza. I was standing there on the street talking to a friend, and he's like, we're like, that's definitely a football player. And it doesn't look like a current football player, but then I had to figure out the Tremayne Anchrum I remember didn't have dreads.
Yeah, some things changed.
And I'm like, is that Jordan McFadden? No. Then finally, you come up closer, you didn't introduce yourself. You gave us a flyer, and I'm like, I'm just going to go ahead and guess. Are you Tremayne Anchrum? Yes. So we had a really, really cool conversation for, I guess, about 20 minutes or so. Covered a lot of things. First of all, it's obviously news to me that you're a free agent. It was also news to me that in addition to being an NFL player of 6 years, you are the VP of Fan Picks College and Strategic Partner?
And I am. That I am.
All right. What is it? What's the model? What is your part of it? How does it work?
Yeah. So, it kind of started off like I was at a PAC meeting, which is a pro athlete community back in February, where I met the CEO of the company, Mr. Jonathan Del Campo. And he was just telling me everything he was doing in Mexico, about how he created a business, a fan athlete engagement service, where fans could meet their favorite athletes before or after a game in ways that were genuine. And I thought, man, that would be really, really cool to bring to the college space, more specifically my alma mater, right? And I talked to him for a while, and we went through some conversations. And then a month later, I said, "Hey, I want to get into this business. I want to work on, bringing that type of energy, that type of genuine passion for the game and the players and the athletes, Clemson, right? I want to bring it to the college space." So that's when we created Fan Picks College, which is basically the same as how he does it in Mexico, but we're bringing it here, and we're going to create events and experiences where fans of all the college athletes, no matter what the sport is, no matter what the season is, that they can meet different people that they're fans of, right? They can go out and say, "Hey, this person made a really good play," or "I've been following this guy for a really long time. I want to ask him a question. I want to get something signed. I want to just, fan out, geek out over a game or a play he just made." And they can download our app, and they can go do that.
So what is I guess the novelty is just in-person interaction pretty much?
It is, yes. We want to make sure that's the heart of what we do behind Fan Picks, is just interactions, person to person, face to face. A lot of things are done digitally, but this is the meat of it, right? This is where people really connect, is face to face. And that's why we do the experiences, like meeting people after a game, but we also do events. We're putting one on July 26th, Saturday, at Ishuina in downtown Clemson, to give people a feeling, a taste of what it is that we do, what it is we're all about, and really just create that exposure to launch it into the college space with one of the leaders of college sports, Clemson University.
So is it affiliated officially with Clemson's athletic department, with the university, the connection there?
We're still working through that. Currently, we're trying to figure out what the feasible ways with compliance and NIL and how it fit into the greater scheme of Clemson. But the conversations have been really positive, and I believe they're moving in a direction that I feel like is going to get approved here soon.
So July 26th from 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m., 25 plus athletes from 6 sports, including football, basketball, volleyball, gymnastics, tennis, and lacrosse. Interaction, games, giveaways, panels, photo ops, community celebration. Who are some of the more high profile athletes that are going to be there?
You're going to have people from today's athletes right now, like you got Wade Woodaz, you got Eve Jackson from gymnastics, right? You got Mia Moore from volleyball, Tristan Lee. You even have transfer. You got 2 transfers, one from the basketball and Justin Porter, who's come from Middle Tennessee, who's been doing an amazing job and who's really making waves. And then Tristan Smith, like everyone's talking about him, where this kid come from. His first transfer portal guy from Dabo's world, that's a receiver. I mean, that's a big part of this offense, right? The Clemson wide receiver room is, it's synonymous with greatness. So for him to come in and have Dabo to pick him, and those things that just can kind of work out, that's a really big hot name that people want to talk to. There's also talent from the women's basketball side with Hannah Cohn and Mia Moore, who are just dynamic. They're making waves. And the offensive line side as well, and football, Walker Parks. And we also have rally cast and cheerleaders like Haley Price and Grayson Teskey. That's being awesome. So we're really excited to showcase all of what Clemson has, because all these athletes uphold the brand that is DePaul.
I guess your involvement in this is a part of you thinking about and starting the wheels turning on life after football. Am I correct on that?
Yes, absolutely.
How long, I guess, I mean, how long has that been in the back of your mind? Just as far as, hey, I need to set myself up to for the next phase. I'm not in a hurry right now to talk about it ending, of course. I'm just talking about just the typical turning of the page that is quite difficult for a lot of high profile athletes, just given that usually the end comes before you expect it to come.
Yeah, no, you're right, man, and it's definitely something that's kind of been on my mind for just about forever, right? Like I've always been a multifaceted person. I've always been, used sports as a vehicle for life. My father and my mother taught me that really early age, and it's not about what you do; it's about who you are. And I've always kind of put that in everything I've done, whether it be community involvement, whether it be internships or fellowships, really just getting into industries that really spark my interest about that, really align with what I like, who I am as a person. And, I knew football was something that was a big part of me because you can't just play sports at this level and not be committed, right? You can't just be the top 1% of what you do and not put your heart and soul into it. But it's then again, right? Like you're much more than your sport. And I wanted athletes to really understand that too. And when I go out and I talk to them and I really show them that, like, hey, like I'm fully fledged, like working out at 6 o'clock in the morning, getting 2, 3 sessions in a day. But you can also use those same skills that made you great at your sport to follow your other passions. It's really just about figuring out what it is you like, what it is you're good at, and really chasing that and not being scared of failure. Because if you had that fear of being scared of failure in your sport, you would never be that good. So that's something I really held on to, and that's something I'm taking into the next level whenever it comes for me.
So, are you back in Clemson for the summer, or just here for a few weeks? What's the situation there?
Yeah, I train out here in the summers. Come back, see some of the guys, train with Jordan McFadden, Will Putnam, some of the other Clemson NFL guys, and we get together, we reminisce, and it was also great timing with how I came into the fan picks company as well. So I'll be here probably another week just until after my event.
And then what's the next step for you?
Gonna join a football team during camp, and then we start the roller coaster of the season again, and get out there and do what I do best.
What can you give people an idea of what your training regimen is like each day?
Yeah, man, it's not for the weak. You wake up, it's about 6:30. You get something to eat, right? You can't start the day without eating something. Doesn't have to be heavy. Then you go to the training room, and then you get your prehabs going, right? You get the little muscles working, you get activation going, you get some mobility work, just to prime your body for what's coming, take care of any lingering injuries or anything that doesn't feel right, and then you go warm up. You get moving on a bike, you get moving on some laps and some dynamic stuff, and then you go do your speed and your agility, making sure you're still moving because movement is key. And then after the movement, you condition, make sure the wind is in your lungs. You probably condition almost every day or every other day, but something that's got to keep your lungs going. Then you lift. After you lift, you something not to be breaking strength records or anything, but you want to make sure that you're strong and you're moving weight, because that's obviously my position, right? You can't be a lineman if you're not moving stuff. And then go back, you recover, you eat, and then you come back later in the day for your skills training, right? You got to make sure you're getting shots up, as my dad would say, right? You got to get your reps in, 10,000 reps. That's the real motto of being great, is just get out there and do it. And that's what we try to do every week, is we try to get, at least 1,000 reps at what we're doing, between, different phases of the game and different positions we're going to be in. And you do that probably 4 or 5 times a week.
And does Clemson supply, do y'all have staff that you can take advantage of to help you? And you're talking about prehab and all that stuff?
Yes. Clemson does a really good job of taking care of its NFL guys, and you can come back and you can use all the facilities. You can use all the resources that we have. Coach Sweeney has been really, really key in that, making sure that this place feels warm and welcoming. Well, after that, they recruited you here. Well, after you've played here, he wants to make sure that that's a really holistic approach of, hey, like, you're not just a Clemson Tiger when you're recruited. You're not just a Clemson Tiger when you're here. You're a Clemson Tiger forever.
We're at an interesting place right now with the college athletics model, as everything transitions from you get an NCAA violation if you get a free candy bar to now it's like open season, pay for play, and they're trying to figure out the guardrails and all that stuff. But I think, a product of the previous model where the so-called labor force couldn't get paid is a big part of the arms race was lavish facilities that you're now being able to take advantage of even well after your career is over. I'm just curious, from someone who has been in the NFL for quite a while and who knows the infrastructure of that level as far as the training facilities and such, how do Clemson's various training facilities and the Allen Reeves Center compare to the typical NFL version of that?
I mean, it's night and day, right? Like you're talking. Most people have their facilities run out of their stadiums, and we used to do that as well. But now in Clemson, we have an entire castle surrounded by a moat, right? Like it's the breaking edge of resources that you should have. But yeah, in the NFL, it's more like, hey, like this is you're coming to work, we're taking care of you what we need to. We're giving you money to kind of deal with your things outside of here, and most NFL teams do a good job of taking care of you, but they're not putting all these things around it like they would need to do for like 18 to 23-year-olds, right? I mean, you need a special amount of resources, you need a special amount of care, and you need to make sure it's a little bit set aside from their regular college life, because these college athletes, they're still college kids, but they got a lot to deal with, right? It's a lot of pressure being a full-time student and having a full-time job as an athlete. That's just a competitive job, right? You're not just checking in and checking out. You got to be consistently trying to be the best of the best. And I'm glad that, we were one of the first ones to have this kind of facility, because it really did help us set ourselves apart in the college football arms race, so to speak, of just making sure that we're focused, we have everything we need, and, resources and support from the, upper levels with, presidents and ADs was always there. So, yeah, it's definitely night and day difference.
What do you make of the state of things right now in college athletics with, you got millionaire players now? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just curious for your window into things, particularly compared with when you were a college player, things were the other way around, just totally different. What's your opinion of the state of things right now?
Yeah, I'm happy for him. I'm definitely happy for him, first and foremost, right? Like when my dad played, he didn't get anything, right? He played basketball at Southern Cal. And I used to hear stories about if he got a bagel, he couldn't get cream cheese on it, right? He had, if he got this, he couldn't get the extra on it, right? Like they were very much so very stiff about what you could have, and they were bringing money to the school. They were bringing value to the school, and we didn't think those things were right, but we always were following the rules, and we're always like, hey, respect the law, and those things are changing now for the better. And I'm happy that it's happening at a certain time like now, because it's a fact of life. 99% of these kids will not see a professional league. That is just the honest to God numbers to it, right? I'm sure there's 1.5% difference maybe in the wordage depending on the sport, but it's good, right? Because these college athletics change the face and change the DNA of these schools, right? And I'm glad that they're figuring it out. I wish they would have kind of got ahead of it if the NCAA wasn't so reluctant to progress, and they were getting, things in place, and they were setting things up, and they weren't so, hard pressed on making these kids just, not legitimate professional athletes, which they are. And that's still kind of changing now. It still feels like the wild, wild west, It still feels like people aren't having set rules, and they're changing every day. And I feel like the NCAA should have got ahead of this, because now the conferences are going to say, hey, we're going to wrangle this up, right? We're kind of tired of this kind of feeling like disorder and chaos and all these things. And I think the NCAA had to third party it out to another person. But, it's moving in the right direction. It may feel like chaos and things like that, but I'm happy to see that these players are getting the things that they deserve for putting in, years and years and years of work and blood, sweat, and tears to do for their university. And it's really, really good thing to see that things are moving along.
Such a complicated topic. It feels like there's no right answer. Like, on one hand, I'm not sure that back in your era that people properly accounted for the fact that even though you weren't getting paid, they were still spending a boatload of money on you, like as far as the facilities and the food and all that stuff. I want to say that at one point, somebody at Clemson told me that like per football player, they were spending like $150,000 a year just on all that stuff, is what they calculated. Obviously, scholarship included in that. But then on the other hand, like you said, 99% of these kids aren't going to the next level. And so their only window of earning opportunity at what they do best is college. It's that 4 or 5 years. And so it's just such a complicated thing. Is that how you see it as well?
Yeah, nah, it makes it really complicated too, because they are doing a lot, right? Like especially at Clemson, man, those the support we had from the athletics, from the school, and making sure that we were good in our personal lives, and taking care of like there's other schools that do like bare minimum, and there's some schools that do bare minimum for school support, bare minimum for athletic support, bare minimum for this, and they expect their athletes to go out there and win. Clemson wasn't like that. So it is definitely weird trying to balance that out, because like obviously no one's being ungrateful for everything we've been getting, for sure. But it's also like, athletes generate revenue. You know what I mean? Athletes put a lot of their time into maximizing their athletic accomplishments while they have it, because it's such a small window. And, we don't get those time to just explore our professional development like we want to, like most regular college students. If we got a college, if you got a internship, there's only a certain amount of money that you can really make because of your commitment, right? And then, just the real rarity of what your skill set brings and the value that it brings. It's hard to not be able to maximize that, in the sense of, hey, you can only be an athlete for so long, man. You get to 30, you get to 28, and it's like, hey, they're gonna go for the younger model. You're putting your body on the line. I've broken bones, torn ligaments, brain damage, things like that, right? Like you're putting so much out there, your life and commitment, and we're just talking about equity. We're just talking about, hey, we put into this program, we've put into the state of athletics, the state of the school, and it's definitely something that we feel like we deserve a piece of. And not only just the compensation, but just to say what happens and things like that. Like you're putting a lot more into the school, and you want to make sure that that's fairly put back into you. The conversation of amateurism is kind of up in the air, right? Because you're turning the educational mission that was college, and now you're saying these kids come here for a job. Well, that is why, right? Deshaun Watson's not coming to Clemson if it's not football. Trevor Lawrence is not coming to Clemson. Sammy Watkins and all these guys that have really put Clemson on the map and brought students to these universities, brought a lot of notoriety, and they didn't come for an education. They got one because it's a world-class school and they had other resources, but they came to play ball, and we feel like they should get what they deserve for that.
Do you laugh at the idea or the term student athlete while still simultaneously not laughing at the idea that you can still get a legit education if you're an athlete?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's you're going to get some good education here. Clemson's one of those schools you are, but you're also going to get your crash course in football now. All right, that's the majority of your experience. But I think that students will feel it too. We do everything that they have to do, and then we have to go, run our brains out and go hit and go lift and do all those things. It's very funny too, because you see how far people can get with a really, really good education, and you're like, man, I wish I could maximize those things, but you're also maximizing football, which is not guaranteed. It's very slim, and you're like, I want to chase this, but I want to chase that. And and it's pulling you so many directions. So really trying to get the 100% best at both worlds is a very difficult thing to juggle. And professionally, you're going to have to miss some money out somewhere, right? Whether it be your job that you're pursuing in a business sense, or whether it's your football career that's a finite, very, very slim part of your life. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
So you wanted to major in geology when you first came to Clemson, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, Lord. How'd you bring this up?
Sorry, I did some homework by listening to the podcast with Darian Rencher a couple of years ago.
Nah, you're absolutely right, man. I was a nerd growing up. I really wasn't. I was into ball, but when I went home, it wasn't on ESPN. It was on the Weather Channel, Discovery Channel, Animal Planet, History Network. That was my thing. So yeah, I wanted to be a meteorologist when I got here.
Yeah, you can be half right and still be employed, right?
You're right about that. That's the greatest gig going.
All right. So, well, I want to talk about that process, and I'm not, this is not necessarily negative or trying to uncover anything, but it's a fact that you wanted to major in geology, but at some point realized this ain't happening, while also trying to be a football player. Can you maybe explore that?
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like thought it was gonna be just roses and rainbows just going through there. Nah, you had to really hunker down. And there's a couple of times where I was like, man, I probably need to put 2-3 more hours into this to really become, the guy I need to become in this class. But I also need to sleep so I can become the guy I need to become on the field. So it's a trade-off, and there's definitely more stories like that for student athletes that want to do things and have dreams and aspirations outside of their sport. But if you want to be great, and if you want to have the same standard of excellence that you need to have, or amongst all the things you got to do, you gotta really delegate. You gotta put your energy and time in. People are playing NCAA now, and you only get a certain amount of energy coins to put into stuff, right? You can be the greatest football player ever, but your school is going to slack off, and you can be the greatest athlete or the greatest student ever, and your athletics are going to slip off. So it needs to be a balance, and I don't think that theology allowed me to kind of have that balance that I needed to. And I kind of found a passion in other areas as well, as far as like business and solving problems and working through issues and communicating with people and becoming a liaison and stuff like that. So I kind of found a little more passion in that. But yeah, you were 100% right. It was tough. You had to make a decision.
Was it Coach Sweeney who, during that juncture, called you in and was like, "Hey, you need to decide here, like this"?
Nah, he wasn't doing that.
Oh, okay.
He was encouraging me to pursue what I wanted to pursue. He was like, "Hey, if it makes you happy, chase it." You know what I mean? Chase it. Also was like, "Hey, take care of your business. Right? This is a job. To take care of your stuff. What you got to do. What's expected of you here is excellence. Is the best. So whatever you got to do it here, but also do it there too." And I'll talk to my academic advisors, and they were like, "Hey, man, like this is going to be a much tougher thing to handle, and I don't know, like that would be really ideal." And I gave it my best for about a semester, and I was like, "Hey, like let's try to pursue some of these other passions," and that was okay. I was okay with that. They were okay with that. It was the best possible thing going, and it really allowed me to maximize my time at Clemson through different areas. So I'm happy I did that.
What was your degree in?
My degree was in business management.
That's not exactly the easiest thing either.
Sure isn't. It sure isn't. No, it took a lot of long nights as well. But it definitely, like, some of those skills were definitely much more transferable from ball to skills to leadership to business. So I was like, okay, this allows me to be able to chase the way I want to, in a professional sense, in a school sense, where I could really chase edges and get better while still balancing that same kind of mindset in athletics.
Blackacre Law in Greenville is the closing representation you can depend on. Getting to the closing is a major milestone for anyone involved in a real estate purchase. This is the time when you're entering the home stretch of the process. The documents you sign and the check you hand over mean that you're on the verge of officially buying your new home. The last thing you want is for something unexpected to occur and put at risk all the work you've done to get to that point. That's where reliable real estate law firms such as Blackacre, a subsidiary of Parham Smith Archenhold, comes in. Take no chances when it comes to your new home. Call Blackacre today for a consultation, 864-775-5400. Listen up, Clemson Tiger fans. Founders Federal Credit Union has a new office right on campus in the Hendricks Center. We're here to serve you with the financial tools you need and the personalized service you deserve. Not on campus, Founders has an office conveniently located on Old Greenville Highway. Stop by or visit foundersfcu.com to learn more and apply for a membership. Relax, you're with Founders. Federally insured by NCUA. Membership qualification required. If you were to superimpose the current college model, meaning pay for play, transfer portal, onto your career span of 16 to 19, how would things, hypothetically, how would, let's just say, $300,000 in your bank account your freshman year or something like that, and then increasing as you became a more important, had a more important role, and then the availability of the transfer portal. Have you thought about that? Like how things might have been different, how things might have worked differently in your young mind and still developing mind at the time?
Man, I think about that all the time, for sure. You know, that's the question for everybody. Like, would you still be the same you if there was money involved, right? If there was a price, if there was an easy way out with the transfer portal, right? If there were options, right? Well, who would you be if you had more options, if you had more access? And I truly do believe that, yeah, there would have been some things that have been different, for sure. But then, for the most part, for me, even when I got to the NFL and I started making a little bit of money there, like, no matter who you are, money just, it just expands on who you are already, right? And I had people around me that were good people. I had mentors that were great mentors. I had family that was in my corner, one of the best for me. Obviously, it would have presented a little bit more challenges just because how to deal with money, the amount of people that have access to you and want to be in your ear and that are trying to tell you to do this and tell you to do that. Like, you know, adults and professionals and college kids and girls and other friends. Like, you had a lot more to deal with. But it would have made you really, you know, lock into yourself a little bit more. But there probably would have been dumb things done, right? Like, you give any 18, 19-year-olds some money, and they're probably going to do some stupid stuff just because, you know, we're kids, we're figuring it out. And money makes you feel like you're bigger than you are. But that's why you need those important people around you. And I feel like at Clemson, we would have had those things. With my family, would have had those things. There would have been some more learning curves. Don't get me wrong. I would probably have done a couple of things that probably been questionable, but nothing too crazy out of the realm because, you know, Clemson doesn't even have those kind of guys here, right? Like, that's not who we are as a team, who we are as a program. And I know that, you know, the president and the athletic staff do a really good job of, like, saying, this is the kind of guys you want to be in here.
Do you worry about those out there, and there are plenty of them, who don't have the family foundation and examples and support systems back home? You know, 18-year-olds who have $1 million suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Yeah.
How much? What's your sort of feeling on or concerns, if any, on that aspect of it?
Yeah, no, I feel it. I do feel for. I pray for them all the time. Cause, like, I mean, I had a great upbringing. I had great parents. I had a good support system. And you know what? I still did a lot of stupid things. I made a lot of mistakes, man. You would not believe the stories that I got. And I was a smart kid, and I had a good family. And I had great support, and I still did some bad stuff. So, you know, and then you just got the growing pains of growing up, right? Like, you're a kid trying to be a man. That's very, very hard. And you're thrusted into situations where you got to make decisions. You're put in you're just off the porch. So I couldn't imagine those people with, like, no support system and, you know, bad influences. And, you know, they listen to everybody that DMs them, or, you know, they look at everybody that tells them that they're the best, or, you know, they may not have the best decision-making process. So I definitely feel for them because it's hard being young in this time period. It's hard. And I think people don't really give enough, you know, grace when they see people mess up on the internet or they see people do things stupid because, you know, you were you're really a product of your environment, and not everybody has the best environment. So now you add money into that mix, and more people have access to you than ever before in human history, and things might not be perfect. So yeah, I'm praying for those people, and I hope that the people of the world have a little bit more grace and understanding that we're all trying to figure this out. No one's perfect, and they're just given a lot more to handle at a very young age.
Jeff Scott, who you, of course, are familiar with, a couple of years ago, he's telling me a story from when he was the head coach at South Florida, and they were playing in Gainesville at Florida. And the story goes that one of South Florida's offensive linemen or defensive linemen, I can't remember which, was trying to get in the other guy's head on the field, trying to talk some smack or whatever. And the other guy who he was going against for Florida was like, "Man, I don't even care. I'm rich." And he probably had, I don't know, at that time, maybe 50 grand, things have changed so much just in 3 years. But it's like that really captures the youth and the ignorance, I guess, of it. And like you said, we've all had it, at that age. And there's some people say in response to concerns about 18-year-olds getting paid, it's like, well, 21-year-olds get paid in the NFL and they handle it okay. But to me, there's such a vast difference between 18 and 22. There's so much growth that occurs. Mm-hmm. And that really is exemplified in a lot of the interviews I do with former players who, during their careers, they don't say really much of anything. Some of them don't say much of anything in press conferences and such because they're kind of scared, naturally. But then after they're done, they're just so much more comfortable in their own skin. And you really learn more about their personalities and their stories. So what do you make of that, sort of the difference between 18 and 22 and the growth that often occurs between those ages?
Yeah, Larry, you're going from a boy to a young man, and there's so much. I mean, Larry, there's just so much expectation, so much pressure on just being a man, right? And what that encapsulates of responsibility, and you should be here, you should be doing this, you got to have it figured out. People back in the day, like our grandfathers and our fathers, probably were getting married at 18, 20, 22, 24, right? Like it was like, hey, you got to be the leader of a family. And some of those expectations still carry, right? Like there were times when I was a kid, like 18, 19, 20, and they were like, yo, you got to make man decisions. And I'm like, hey, no, I can't even drink legally. What do you mean I got to make a man decision, right? Like it's almost a lost art for men to forget about the process of growing. They see you with all this influence. They see you with all this power. They see you with all this money, the ability to make change. And they just say, okay, you're on these platforms, you have this money, you should have it all figured out. You should just be a man's man. You should be 35 right now at 19. Like, what are we talking about, man? And you have that struggle of like trying to honor where you come from, and everybody that raised you, and then trying to be the best person you are right now and figure out those situations and grow. And then you got who you want to be in the future and where you want to go. And you got to balance all that as a man, where everyone's just expecting you to have everything right, to do everything perfect, to get everything like the way they want you to. Then you got to figure out who you want to be. And that's a lot to really juggle as a kid who just wants to ball. Like these are guys that are like, hey, I have a talent in playing a sport. Let me keep playing it. And now you're on the world stage, right? Like I'm just a kid from Powder Springs, Georgia, but now anytime I speak, it's going to be on ABC News. Excuse me? What are we talking about, right? Like it's almost unfair, but to whom much is given, right? A lot is expected. And I think that when you go through those circumstances and you mess it up a bunch and you say the wrong things and you learn from that, right? And you watch other people, you watch other men, because we're social creatures, and watch other people interact. You learn from that too, good or bad. And so a lot of that growth that even normal kids have, right? You ask any college kid that leaves at 17 and he graduates and comes back home at 23, that kid's going to sound totally different.
Yeah.
Right, Larry? I'm sure you were a totally different 17-year-old than you were a 23-year-old.
For sure.
And they didn't give you pads and some money and told you to go figure it out. You got the entire school on your back, dog. We need to up enrollment next year, right? We need to win these bowl games, right? Go figure it out, but don't be late for class, and make sure you get all A's, and make sure your girlfriend's okay. Make sure you talk to your best friends, and make sure you do all this, right? Like it's a lot you got to deal with. So I'm really proud when I see guys, progress like that. And I know I had to go through a lot of downs and ups to make it too. So yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, I had Marcus Lattimore on recently on the podcast, and he said when you're 18 and you hear 60,000 people screaming your name, your brain changes forever. And I don't know if people were chanting your name, offensive lineman. They don't often do that, but still.
I hope not. I probably had a bad day if that was the case.
But the idea still applies, just that elevated sort of gladiator hero type thing for young minds. It's complicated, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. It's very, very complicated, but the world makes you think it's supposed to be simple.
So, what was your view of press conferences and having to sit there and answer questions from pinheads like myself? Like, how did you greet that when you were at Clemson, and then how have things been different in that realm in the NFL, where I guess it's just more businesslike, more, and I guess maybe less barriers, less controlling of the message at the pro level compared to the college level, where they're justifiably trying to protect you guys?
I think that in college, you understand that like you represent the school, right? Your views represent your teammates' views, your coach's views, the university views, especially being like a young kid, right? Like you gotta be very, very cautious of what you say and how you say it. And they do a good job, especially at Clemson. Like they do a good job media training you, understand what to say, how to say it. If there's a question that may not be right, how to get out of it or maneuver. But then you get to the pros, and then you realize like, oh, like yeah, I play for this team, but I'm really a contractor, and this is my brand. Yeah, you speak for the team in some capacity. Yeah, you have, like obligations and things like that to your organization and your ownership and your teammates, but you are pretty much your own entity in a way that you couldn't have a brand in college, right? Because you didn't own your name, you didn't own your likeness, you didn't own your image. University owned it, but now you own it, and so now it comes with a little bit different, right? And so now you can be Marshawn Lynch and be like, I'm only really here, so I don't really get fined because I'm speaking for I. You know what I mean? Instead of in college, you probably couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Like you got to uphold some more standards and stuff like that. But once you're out in that real world and you got that professional tag, and this could affect your brand deals, it could affect your image and your work afterwards. Now you're like, okay, this isn't on Clemson. This isn't on Cal. This isn't on Florida State. This is on me, and that changes it because now you're speaking from your brand instead of someone else's. So that definitely adds a little bit more interesting, nuance to the mix.
Well, especially now where you do have brands in college. Does that make things harder for the coaches such as Dabo, who are so much about that culture, so much about, hey, keep everything within, and the team first ethic? I would think it has to make things at least a little different and a little trickier, because you do have players making a lot of money. You do have players who have big brands now.
I don't think so, Larry. I think that we bring a certain kind of guy in here too. That's usually about the right things, right? We make sure that they understand that, like, hey, like your brand and our brand are synonymous, right? And it's understanding that, like, when you go out there and talk, you're representing yourself and us. And like it'd be very advantageous for you to kind of align in those ways. I'm not in those locker rooms like that. I'm not in those conversations, but I do know that when people speak on Clemson, when people speak on all these other schools, they talk in a certain way, and when they talk about Clemson, it's usually in a very positive light. And I think that's a really good brand that you want to keep in that image. You can obviously add your own flair. You can obviously be a person. You can obviously have a personality, but just make sure you keep it about the right things and you respect and honor all the people that have come before you that are here and that are coming to the school with this image. And you feel that pressure. And it's not really bad pressure, but it's a good pressure because it leaves it leaves an impact because that's expectations. And I think that we do a good job that here when I was here. And I'm sure that they've had really good people in place to make sure that's staying a thing way longer than I was here.
That's a great point because Clemson has worked so hard to protect that culture and the DNA, even though the model has changed. And even today's players on the roster, today's commitments for future rosters, they were seeking that out. That slow cook method, so to speak, I think is what the way Dabo frames it. The lifetime decision versus the 4-year decision. And so the question probably applies more to other programs out there that do base it more on a transactional type of level. And there are some pretty prominent examples in recent years of teams that have made a lot of headlines by spending a lot of money on their rosters, but they've kind of face planted in a lot of ways. And I'm thinking like Texas A&M, Miami, who are some others? Southern Cal. Not all of them, but it really seems like, man, if you don't have the substance and the cohesion and the sort of unifying culture to match the money, then you're in danger of the thing imploding, or at the very least of not coming close to getting the results to match the investment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, dog, money, like Larry, money makes you more of who you are. If I give you a lot of money, it isn't going to change you. It's just your goods are going to become great and your bads are going to become awful. And people always think that money can just fix every issue. You see it at every level of sports, any level of business, any level of politics or government. People believing that money just fixes issues and is going to win you games and solve problems. Those aren't people that live in reality. They just look at a dollar and just think money is the solution to everything. But if you don't have your culture right, if you don't have your idea right, and if you don't have your systems and processes in place, then money's just going to make things worse. And you really need to have your ducks in a row if you're going to be a successful anything, right? Like if you don't handle what you need to handle prior to, then you're going to be an 8-4 team that just has a lot more money now, and your players are just going to be the same 8-4 players with money. So really get into the nitty gritty of like, who are we? What's our identity? Why do we do this? How do we go about it? Versus the what of like, what do we need to pay them? Is really what we're going to see in the next few years of these college sports, is that the programs that may have a little bit of success because they got the best players or they bought them, but they won't build anything that's worth keeping around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like at Clemson the last few years, there have been moments of almost I think each of those seasons where it was like, they would lose a couple of games or have a blowout loss, and it feels like, man, this could go off the rails. You're sort of privately telling yourself, or you're wondering, but things don't go off the rails. They respond, and rebound. And I think a big part of that is that culture that fuels them, that cohesion and the drive where every team out there faces that type of moment, right? And so if you're not made of strong stuff, you wilt, the fight or flight, and some guys choose flight and then it falls apart.
Yeah, man. Those are the people that you're like, dang, how did we get this guy in here? Or is this what we filled our program with? Guys that whenever it gets hard, they just cut and run. And listen, I'm not. If there's a certain scenario or situation where like leaving is like the most optimal option, and it's like a really tough place, especially when people's coaches get fired, and they recruit you for years and years, and they just up and leave you stranded and all those things. That's totally understandable, right? And I get those things, right? We wouldn't have Joe Burrow if that was the case. We wouldn't have Kyler Murray. We wouldn't have Jalen Hurts. Like those are part of their stories. But those guys worked, and those guys really exercised every option they had before they could get out of there. And I think that whenever you were given the ejector seat button, it's always super tempting. You ever see that meme where the guy is looking at the button and he's like, oh, he's sweating, he's about to push it. Sometimes being given an out is all the temptation some people need to really just quit on a situation before it's really, manifested itself the way it should be. So that's why recruiting is so important, and that's why consistency is so important. Having the same people in the same places and having, a process that works that you can show players like, hey, it may not be pretty right now, and things may get hard, but if you stick with it, good things will come. We'll be here to guide you along the way. We're not going to take jobs and leave and do all that stuff. It matters. It builds trust in the program, it builds trust in the school, and it builds trust in the families that commit to you.
When you got to Clemson in 2016, Dabo and Clemson were this fresh, new presence, challenging the evil empire of Alabama and Nick Saban. And then when you left after the 2019 season, it's like people were sick of Clemson and Dabo and ridiculing everything he said. And I think that continued beyond then. But I'm just curious for your take on the evolution of how Dabo is perceived publicly, media, social media, whatever. And it almost feels like it's come full circle because it's almost like he's cool again now, maybe because some of the things he has said before about his beliefs and model and is the way he builds a program. People are maybe seeing the wisdom of that. Just curious your thoughts on the evolution of perceptions of Dabo.
Yeah, no, Larry, the one thing people do feel weird about is when people are very like idealistic and they stick to that, right? Where they're like, this is who I am, I'm not gonna change, for better or for worse. And those things can scare people, especially in a time where progress happens every 2 days, right? We're on a paradigm shift. Things that were cool 10 years ago, things that were cool last year aren't cool now. I think that people are attracted to things that are always changing and always things fresh. But then as you get older, as you grow, as you kind of go through your life, you're like, wow, like someone that's stuck to their guns and has kept their principles. Obviously, things can for sure, change and adapt and grow. But when the core of you is the same, that really does resonate with real people, because you can see the wisdom in it. You can see the perseverance in it. You can see that, hey, like win, lose, or draw, I'm going to be me. I'm going to do you. And he does his through his faith, right? Through his commitment to his, to service, to his players, to his missions. And people like, oh, he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want to get like these cool new guys. Oh, we're forgetting about him. Oh, but then they love him because, oh, it works. And, ups and downs, ebbs and flows. They're like, oh, my God, he's good. He's bad. He's good. He's bad. Right. Like, but over time, you're like, okay, no matter what's going on, we're not going to change this guy. And now people are kind of coming back around. And listen, we'll keep that same level of success, and things will be good and things will be bad. And everybody wants to get on ESPN and be like, oh, this one thing happened. Is it over? Is it going to be trash? Or we're going to fire him? Is this in a hot seat? Especially in this microwave society that we live in, that things should just happen immediately. That's just not real life. And when people start understanding that instant success is not real life, you start to appreciate people that are really genuine and authentic to who they are and sticking through the journey and the process.
I want to bring one of your former teammates onto the program. This guy named Trevor Lawrence. Actually, I'm not bringing him on. It's a clip from the Pardon My Take. He was on there, I guess recently, 4 days ago. Did you happen to catch that?
I don't think I saw that.
Okay, well, I want to play what he said about Dabo, because it's really interesting in a lot of ways. So I'm gonna I hope you can hear this. Let's see.
I got a tough question.
Can you hear that?
All right. It's going to be hard for you to probably explain it because we're just regular guys. Dabo, can you explain him to us?
I can try. Yeah, I can try.
From the outside, you understand he's quirky, but obviously he's a great coach. Win national titles, like you win a national title with him. He wins other ones. What is it that like makes him tick, and what is special about him?
He is. First of all, I love the guy, like genuinely. Like I'm not just saying that because I played for him. Like he is awesome, and I say too, like there's a lot of people. There's a ton of people that love him. There's a lot of people that don't like him, just for whatever reason. But like what you see really is what you get with him. Like he doesn't put on a fake like personality. That's why sometimes like he'll say stuff in media. I remember when I was there and he'd say stuff in the media and people would kill him for it, and he just like doesn't care. He's just always honest, and just his energy. He's not an offensive coordinator. He wasn't a coordinator. He was a position coach straight to head coach. From receivers coach to interim head coach. That was his transition. So he's not like the biggest. He understands the game. He's not a huge X's and O's guy, but he's like motivator, vision. Like our team meetings would be so long, but I mean, there's times where it's like, all right, this is long. So long. But honestly, like he kept our attention. Great motivator. Like he would make you believe like you could do anything. Like our team, we'd be like, dude, we're gonna like it didn't matter who we're playing. Like we're gonna kill these dudes, and like it could be a team that's better than us. I mean, that didn't happen much on our. We had some good teams at Clemson, but like he was awesome. I still talk to him like once a month.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously like Clemson before Dabo gets there, like they were good, but it was also the joke of like Clemsoning and always being good but not great, and then he took it to another level. So it's clear
for sure.
And he also the thing that Dabo deserves a ton of credit for is he broke up. Like he was the guy who won other than Nick Saban in that era. Like Nick Saban dominated college football.
Yeah,
and Dabo was like, no, I got teams that can compete.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel like with head coaches, it's always a balance of like you have some head coaches that are just very cerebral. They just think football and they kind of miss that motivational leadership aspect of it. And then he is kind of like the opposite. And I think that there has to be like a fusion. So if you're like that, he's done a great job with his staff. Like he's hired, I loved all of our coaches at Clemson, like offensive coordinators, position coaches. Obviously we got great players. He's a great recruiter. Like you want to go play for him. It really is. Like he sells the family atmosphere of Clemson, and then you get there, and it really is like that. Like it's a great place to go to school. But man, he's a stud. I love him.
Yeah. Did you use the slide in the facility?
I did.
I got yelled at.
Not like every day though.
I got yelled at for going down the slide.
So you went down it?
Yeah, players only.
Oh,
and they were like, someone yelled at me, like, "You're not supposed to do that." I was like, "Well, I'm already down
it's
here."
Probably like an insurance. It's probably a liability thing.
Yeah,
I just saw it slide and I went
break something and sue the.
I just went for it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That wasn't a player's only slide.
Some waivers
like, you
here,
have a hard and fast rule.
No, I mean, I think it's like people in the building, like players. I think coaches can use, like. But
did you ever see coaches?
Was Dabo on there?
Oh yeah, he'd go down it. No, he went down it. He'd probably go down it just like for fun.
What a man.
In the between meetings.
He's also a great TikToker.
Yeah,
Hickory dock.
That's a classic.
That is a classic.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock. Coach Sweeney's got that drip, and now he's on TikTok.
What was your reaction when you saw that?
That's a tough one. With the gloves on and the polo.
Hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock. Coach Swinney got that drip.
I laughed and I
and
cringed
now
at the
he's on
same
TikTok.
But But that's like actually him. Just like cringy stuff, and he has no shame.
Yeah.
I like that your answer is that like he doesn't hear the outside noise, because I think guys like that, they can just stay themselves and they don't get changed by people, being like, that's lame or that's weird.
Yeah.
And it's like his belief is so strong in what he's doing. It's like that stuff doesn't affect him. Like, there's a lot of people where when things start getting tough, like they kind of waver and go up and down, and he's just always the same. Like, he's always on 10. Like, he never changes.
If your coach is going viral for being cringy on TikTok, that's way better than your coach going viral for, I don't know, like grabbing somebody's butt after a game. That would be awkward.
That would be really awkward.
Shots fired, man.
Hypothetically,
Urban Meyer was just somewhere chilling.
It'd be
He's
tough.
like, oh god,
tough team meeting for
my
sure.
chest.
Oh my gosh, that was so high. On the Urban Meyer thing, Trevor goes, "Yeah, hypothetically, that would be really tough."
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, he's just sitting somewhere and he's just like, why me? What did I do?
All right, so what are your reactions to that?
It's all he's so right. It's all kind of same. Part of my message too is just like, this guy sticks to his guns. He's the man amongst men, and like, hey, I'm gonna stay the course. I'm gonna be me. We're gonna make adjustments where we need to. We're gonna put the right people in the right places, but the mission, the vision stays the same. And I when you get out into the real world and you see that not everybody shares those same ideals or those same values, and they don't know how to convey a message and a vision. Like, Coach Sweeney makes sure we saw that vision every day. He conveyed it through words, he conveyed it through videos, through the way we operated, pictures, and you're like, okay, I see the big picture, I feel it, and you carried that through your work every day. That's what made him so special. It's like he stuck to his guns, he stuck to his values, and he made you see the big picture. He kept the greatest coaches around, the greatest people around, and he really said, hey, we're doing this. This is a boat. This is how we're going, and we're taking off. And I really did appreciate that way after I got done playing.
But the TikTok thing, why, Dabo? Why?
Hey, you listen, when your dad gets his hands on some new stuff, it's gonna be some growing pains. It's gonna get awkward, okay? It's a little crazy, but it's funny too, because it's like, that's him.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? That's exactly what I expected Dabo Sweeney to do when he got on TikTok. So again, he didn't change. He ain't try to do nothing crazy. He did exactly what I thought he was gonna do. To our point.
Was there any top cringy thing that you remember privately just from your time on the team?
Man, let me think, because gosh, there is a bunch of funniness that we'd have pep rallies. He'd get up there and he'd start singing. And, he'd start dancing in the Paul with us, and he'd hit some dance moves that were like, oh, and then there's some dance moves that were like, oh, and then you're like, okay, I like this guy. I like him.
So you won 2 national titles and a Super Bowl ring over a 6-year period, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
That's wild. Do you remember? Okay, I want to take 16 and 18. I'm sorry, I want to take 18 and 19 going into both national championship games. Do you remember going into the Alabama national championship thinking, we're going to tear these guys apart? And then what is your recollection of going into the LSU national championship game? And was it similar? I'm just curious for the inside the mind of a player on a generationally great team.
Okay. The Alabama game, we went to California for the 15-0. We saw them on film and we were like, man, when you watch these guys individually, you're like, hey, everybody's great. They're all 5 stars. They're all NFL talent. But then as you kind of watch them more and more, you were like, they don't really play together like that. There's a lot of chinks in the armor. Like, there's a lot of good plating, but the mesh that connects it isn't really there. They weren't greater as a sum of their parts. They were greater individually. And we knew that we were great as well, but we were greater together than we were separate. And so we figured, like, as we kind of got through the week, we were like, oh my God, like, there are so many holes here. We can really tear these guys apart. And the only question was, like, what are we limited by? And as an offense, we were like, whatever we don't execute, like, if we all do our jobs, we could put 50 on these guys. I remember being in the locker room, like, on Thursday practice, like, watching the film, I was like, we could put 50 on these guys. And we just kind of, you know, kept that belief of, like, okay, one, we got some of the best players. We're players are better than their players, and we got a better staff. We prepare better. So we were like, okay, let's just be us, and this isn't going to be close. And that belief just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger throughout the week. When we got out there, when we practiced, when we were like, yeah, oh yeah, we were ready. And so when we got out there, we were like, yeah, let's just keep it going. I think one of the guys in the huddle was like, we should keep going. It was like, nah, like, let's just run it out, take a knee. And some people were visually upset about that. They were like, come on, man, we should be putting 60 on these. You'll never get a chance for 60 on these guys. And I think one of our coaches was like, yeah, we will. We sure will. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep it rolling. So, you know, we took some solace from that. And then LSU, I believe we kind of had that same mindset as well. They didn't really show too many chinks in their armor. They had a lot of talent. I mean, they had like, they looked like us 2019, that year before. And I was like, and they played good as a team. So we were like, okay, this is going to be a real heavyweight matchup because they are good individually and they're good as a unit on both sides of the ball. And they were just running through people. So, yeah, especially we got off that Ohio State game. It took a lot out of us. And we knew that we had to, like, really re-up, get healthy, and get back to it. Because we need to be at our best. And, you know, going into that game, we practiced and we rehearsed and we did everything. We said, hey, let's go get out there and shoot our best shot. And we left it all out there. We weren't really disappointed. I mean, things happened. It wasn't the result we wanted to get, but we're glad that we got into that situation. We shot our shot.
Who was the best defensive player you faced from another team during your career at Clemson, and who was the best on Clemson's team, the best defensive player on the other side?
Let's see. One of the best guys I had to play against. Brian Burns was really good. Let's see who else was really good. Zach Allen was really good. Bradley Chubbs was really good. And then on Clemson, Dexter. What? Dexter was a monster. Oh my God. Dexter. Christian was savvy. He was athletic, but he was big. So you never really knew if he was going to be like finesse or if he was going to be power. So he had both of those as well. That guy was pretty. Those two guys were they were monsters.
Did you say Chase Young from Ohio State?
Chase Young was really good as well. Yeah, like watching him work and going against him, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's. I gotta definitely be on my P's and Q's for sure. Chase Young, Brian Burns, Chubbs, and Zach Allen were like, okay, I gotta bring my lunch pail. We got it ready. I think Zach Allen, my senior year, he really started to flourish, and I was like, all right, I gotta start locking in a little bit. You know, that picture of the guy's playing the video game and he has to sit up. It's like one of those. We're like, okay, let me not take anything off this guy.
I'm embarrassed. I don't recall Zach Allen. Who did he play for?
He played for Boston College. He was a defensive tackle. He was out there at defensive end, 275, 80 pounds at defensive end. That was J.J. Watt. He wasn't as impressive his junior year. I think Harold Landry was kind of the guy, and I kind of was like, okay, this is good. But when I got to senior year Zach Allen, I was like, okay, this guy can ball.
You pretty much neutralized Chase Young, right? In 19?
Yeah, for the majority. I mean, he got a couple reps on me for sure, but yeah.
He was on you most of the time?
Yeah, third downs. First half he was. I think second half he went to the other side to try Jackson. But yeah, That was the game I broke my elbow, and I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm getting out of this. Let me tape it up, put a brace on it, and just go throw some hands.
Was this early in the game?
Yeah, first series.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, not particularly ideal. No.
What's the best offensive player you played with at Clemson?
Travis. Oh my God,
Really?
Travis Etienne. Yeah. That guy could do anything.
I mean, the only reason I'm sorry to interrupt. The only reason I'm surprised is most people would say Trevor or Deshaun.
No, Trevor was obviously generational, right? He came out the womb being the next Andrew Luck for sure. But when Travis got that ball, like you just felt it. It was just electric, right? Where he caught it out the backfield, or he just hitting the outside zone. He was slash cutting, or he was trucking somebody. It was like, oh my God. And he has such a positive disposition about everything that when he starts saying like let's go and he starts getting up, you're like, all right, it's time to roll. ain't no more ifs, ands, or buts. It's time to go.
Well, so what is there a particular memory that is vivid of that?
I remember him getting in that Louisville game for that first time. And I mean, he had played before and stuff like that. But I remember him just saying, like, I'm about to go crazy. And I was like, all right, bro, like, calm down. Like, it's just game Saturday nights, game days, all this, just take it easy. And he just floored it. Like, this guy just floored it. He hit the corner and he was gone. And he runs like, I don't even know. Like, he runs like he's goofy, but it's fast.
Yeah.
And you could see him just straining, and he was just like pulling away from everybody. And you were like, this guy could go.
That was
like, I'm 100% a Travis Etienne fan.
That was 17, his freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you remember that summer because he was not a mid-year, and all of a sudden we start hearing about number 9 during August camp, and it's like, really? I'm not sure if I believe this.
I wasn't a believer until I saw him put the pedal to the metal, and I was like, yep, this is the guy I want to block for, 110%.
Aaron Donald, we talked about this downtown on Tuesday, but Aaron Donald, easily the best player you've been on a field with?
Without question. Without question. That guy's, he's got like a killer mindset, and he's got incredible ability with the work ethic that's like second to none. I mean, there's just nobody I know that can hang with him in any facet. Like, when you go into games and it's like, all right, first and foremost, this is the biggest threat to the game, bar none. That when you come in, that kind of respect from other grown men who are really, really good at their job, you for sure know that this guy's the GOAT,
But with Tiger, Michael Jordan, the great ones, it's between the ears more than it is the whatever, gifted athleticism, strength, whatever. Can you give, having had a window into that from up close, can you give us your best sort of recollection or explanation for how that materialized with him, his mind?
When you see him, you feel him, right? Like, it's much more of this guy has to have it, and he wants to train, he wants to do extra, he wants to go hard. Like, people want to eat, like people want to breathe, like people want water. You can tell, like, straining isn't really an option. It's a necessity. It's mandated, right? Like, finishing the play and like get into your moves, playing the game within the game. Those people are hard to like because it's really tough. He would only joke around a certain amount, right? It would be like just a few moments here and there, and it'd probably be rare where you're seeing him laugh and smile, and you're like, oh, what's going on, right? Like, other than that, he was dead serious, and he would work like it was his last rep every rep he went. He was always applying pressure, no matter if it was a passive move, it's an aggressive move, no matter if he had a job that wasn't really directed to the play. Like, it was always like, you're going to feel me every rep. And you knew that going into practice, you knew that going into individual one-on-ones or a game, that this guy wasn't going to let up. And you're going to have to bring everything you got just to even get close. Because it's not a matter of if he's going to win. It's really a matter of how long is it going to take him to beat me.
Are you scared when you have to match up with him?
Nah. I'm just gonna be like, I just know like I gotta do what I gotta do. Scared is not the word. Nervous is like, oh yeah, I'm a little nervous because I'm like, how's he gonna beat me? If he's gonna beat me, I'm gonna make sure he only does it one way, and then he beats you the way you didn't think he was gonna beat you. And you're like, damn, I just said he wasn't gonna do this. And yeah, he keeps you honest on every single facet of footwork, timing, hands, balance, core, stability, everything. Like, he makes sure you're always on your P's and Q's. And even if you are, you can still lose. Totally 100% possible. So I really did value that because it definitely helped me refine my techniques and understand my approach to the game a little better.
Anything we haven't covered that I've missed that you want to talk about?
Nah, man, it's kind of like how that conversation we had the other day, man. It's kind of just flowed. I didn't even realize it was an hour. We did that downtown too.
It's been, time flies, I guess, when you're having good conversation.
Sure does, Larry.
Well, hey, I can't thank you enough for sharing your time with me. I think this will go over really well with the listeners.
Hey, man, anytime you want to have me on, I'm definitely glad to have it because I had a good time.
We will definitely have Tremayne back on, check back in with him as his life progresses. Best of luck to him in NFL free agency. Appreciate the support of our sponsors for continuing to make this happen after all these years. It's been 7 years. Wow, doesn't seem that long since it started. Thanks to all y'all for listening, and be safe. Cheers.